An important part of packing for a Disney vacation is knowing what you can and cannot take into the parks. This week, we're tackling the cannots. This is episode 74. I'm Soraya.
I'm Aurora.
And together, we're just your average Disney travelers. Okay, this is a list of, what we're going to talk about is a list of things that not everybody knows. In fact, I think both the cans and cannots of what you can take into the parks, there's a lot of unknown. So that's why we're going to go over them both. But this week we're going to start with the cannots. These are things don't bother taking. You're not going to be able to take them into the parks. If you've heard of people doing them, maybe it used to be allowed and now it's not. Because some of these things were, I would say recently, but it's been a number of years now, 3, 4, 5 years, recently-ish, changed. But it's just good to know as you're planning. And in some cases, there are alternatives that you can do to get similar results. And some things it's just, no, it's not happening.
Yeah.
But anyhow, so here's a list. Of course, I would say, disclaimer, go to the website of whether you're going to Disney World or Disneyland to get the actual most current, up-to-date, very detailed and long list of what you cannot bring into the parks. This is going to be a list of the most common of the what you cannots. But for the official list, go check there. Things are always changing. You never know when it's going to happen. So, but as of for now, this is a fairly thorough list of what I think people would be considering. Let's start with selfie sticks. This is one of those that used to be allowed, and they banned them after people kept trying to use them while on the roller coasters and having problems. In addition to, they can just be... I think it started... Too many people were trying to use them in crowded groups, and it just became a problem. So no selfie sticks, and along those lines also, for your information, this is kind of common sense, but just in case you were wondering, no large tripods. And by large tripods, it's anything 6 feet or over, don't bring in. Obviously, those are collapsible anyways, but if they extend to over 6 feet, don't bring them in. They do allow small ones.
Yeah.
So you can bring small ones, but just don't bring the big stuff. And I think it's common sense.
Yeah.
But obviously, it has to be covered because some people try.
Yep. You cannot bring in dry ice.
Yeah, I don't know why you'd want to.
I think you can do stuff with dry ice, like explosions and stuff. You have to be, like an adult to buy dry ice. You can't be a minor.
Right. Well, dry ice, I don't know why you'd want to bring it in. If you touch it, it's painful.
That's probably why.
Yeah.
I
understand why you might want dry ice in one hand because it keeps things totally cold and frozen, but this is not necessary. Don't even contemplate taking dry ice. You also cannot take loose ice as loose ice. Now, that doesn't mean you can't take ice into the parks. If you have like a cooler or an ice chest that's small enough, that we'll get to in a minute, but if you are taking anything where you'd want ice to keep things cold, you can put loose ice into Ziploc bags and then have those bags in your ice chest. But the loose ice itself makes they've banned it because it's too hard for security to go through and make sure that the ice chest isn't containing things it shouldn't contain. If it's in a Ziploc bag, they can just move it out of the way. It's fine. But you know how it is digging through a big thing of ice.
Yeah.
It always is. It's like digging through sand. It's just going to keep falling and burying yourself. It's just not going to... It makes it hard. You can also bring like a blue ice or those lunch ice packs. So if you just need things to stay cold, freeze those and then put those in your coolers or bags, whatever it is you're carrying things in.
Yeah. You can't bring in glass containers, which I think is a bit...
Yeah, we've talked about this so many times. You know what? It's kind of common sense, except that when you know that you can bring in food and drink, there's sodas or beverages that come in glass containers.
Yeah.
Those are not allowed. Also, people who would be bringing in baby food, half the baby, well, I don't know if half anymore. Back in the day, half the baby food was in glass containers. Maybe more of them now are not, but even if you do have some glass jars for baby food, or like you were bringing in some PB&J to make sandwiches while you're there, the glass is not allowed. So make sure that whatever you're taking in doesn't contain that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Another one that should be obvious is no weapons of any kind. But maybe what would be surprising or we wouldn't think of is like pocket knives and pepper spray. Those are also not allowed. So no weapons of any kind allowed in the parks.
You can't bring in toys that look like weapons.
Right. So like no plastic toy guns, anything that can be confused or mistaken for a weapon, because that's just not smart.
Yeah.
All right. I don't know if this is counting as bringing things in, but just be aware that on the Disney properties, there is no smoking. And this includes vaping, so no e-cigarettes either. In the parks, this is absolute. Now, this is another one of those things that you might say, oh, I remember there are designated smoking areas in the parks. There used to be designated smoking areas in the parks. Now those are gone. And so the only designated smoking areas are outside of the parks. All of the Disney hotels at Disneyland and Disney World do have an outdoor smoking area. You're not allowed to smoke on your balconies or patios of your rooms, and of course not indoors. But if you go out of the hotel, there is a spot. And I'm sure that at the Disney World parks, there is an outdoor designated area outside of the parks. I cannot tell you where those are because I don't smoke. And I don't go often enough to know where the Disney World locations are. But the Disneyland one is located outside of the security area over on the South Harbor side of the Esplanade. So if you're in the parks and you need to take a break and go for a smoke, that's where you would go. It's not conveniently located, but that's the way it is. And I have to say, I know that people who do smoke, I am sure that is really hard. A little bit, I mean, it's more than just a little bit inconvenient. It's probably annoying. But for people who don't smoke, I'm really happy because it was always frustrating and just unpleasant to accidentally happen upon someone who is either smoking out of the smoking areas, or even when you, like, sometimes there's areas, the smoking areas were close by another area you were going in, and it wasn't fun.
Yeah.
So it's just nicer and more pleasant to have that completely out of the parks now.
Yeah. Kind of similar to the same idea. You can't bring in marijuana or any other recreational drugs of any kinds, and this includes stuff that, like, brownies or like stuff they
edibles.
Eat. Yeah, the edibles, like the stuff they put in the drugs.
You know what?
You put the drugs in.
Yeah. Disneyland is labeled as the happiest place on earth. If you can't go to the happiest place on earth and you can't be happy without your extra happy things, maybe you need to reevaluate your life. So just leave all of that at home, please. Hopefully this isn't pertaining to anybody who listens, but I know it does pertain to some. So, just no. Those are not allowed.
Yeah.
And again, along those lines, no alcohol. You cannot bring alcohol into the parks. Now, there are some locations where you can purchase alcohol. So that is an option, but you are not to bring in your own.
So, back to the coolers. The max size you can bring is 24 inches by 18 inches by 15 inches.
Yeah, so I mean, that's actually a decent size cooler.
And you can't have any wheels on the coolers.
Right, so nothing you can pull or drag. So none of the large coolers, but if you wanted to carry around a small or moderate sized cooler, you certainly can. I guess I would just remind that there are lockers in both of the parks at Disneyland. Well, all of the parks. I'm sure the Disney World parks too. But also at Disneyland in the Esplanade, there's like a little picnic area off to the side. that has, it's kind of tucked away. It's not obvious, but if you're looking at Disneyland Park, it's to the left, so close to the downtown Disney side, but on the Disneyland side of the Esplanade. There is a little area that has some picnic tables, and there are lockers. And some of those lockers are a good size, large size that you could put some coolers in. I'm not sure if because coolers can get pretty big, but you can put a decent sized cooler in there. So if you are going to be packing in some food, you can still do that. Just be aware that you're going to want to get a locker. And if it's a larger cooler that can't go into the parks, you have to use the outdoor lockers, or the outside lockers. Okay, so also not allowed is carry-on luggage. Basically,
don't bring a suitcase.
Yeah, don't bring a suitcase. Things that you can pull around behind you. That's not allowed. So if you're going to bring a bag, it's got to be something you can carry, or something you're going to stick in a locker and hold on to, just go and access when you need it.
Yeah, you can't bring extra large strollers. The max size is 31 inches by 52 inches.
And it's basically the big double jogger strollers. That's really what it is. Because you can take in a good size stroller.
Yeah.
A lot of double strollers will fit those within that size. It's just those big double jogging strollers that's going to be too big. So be aware that that's the max size.
Yeah.
Also wagons, whether you're pushing or pulling them. I remember going to the state fair and my family bringing the wagon and putting the smallest kids in it, and we'd pull them around. That is not allowed. The only exception to that, because sometimes you might see it, is if somebody's wagon has been officially tagged and designated as a wheelchair, because there are obviously some special needs, and those are the only exception that you're going to see for those wagons being allowed.
Mm-hmm. You cannot bring costume on adults or anyone who's older than 14.
Well, technically you can bring them. You can't wear them.
Well, yeah.
I don't know why you'd carry them around if you weren't putting them on. So no costumes.
Well, I guess older than 13, because 14-year-olds count. 14 plus.
Yes. So if you're 14 or older, you're not allowed to wear a costume at any regular given time. The only exception would be during actual Halloween parties.
Yeah.
Or after our Halloween events. So anybody younger than that, though, you can dress up the kids. And the big reason, do you know why that is?
It's so then, kids don't get confused.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They don't think that, and even when you know that your costume is not going to confuse anyone from a real, actual character in the park, it's just the way it is. That's just the line they draw. It's so that Disney has control over what characters are represented and how. And so during a normal, regular operating day, that's the cutoff. 14 and over, no costumes in the park.
Yeah.
You can
Disney bound.
Yes. You can, yeah, Disney bounding is a fun way to get around that. Which is, you want to describe Disney bounding?
It's like taking the very basics of a character's outfit, or at least concepts of the character, and then then wearing it. So Snow White, if you wear a plain yellow skirt with a blue top, and then I don't know, maybe some red accents,
or a headband or something,
then if someone sees you, it's pretty clear that you're kind of gives off a very clear
vibe
or look of Snow White. So
without actually being a costume.
Yeah.
So Disney bounding's okay, but costumes no go on 14 and up. Okay, this is something that we actually mentioned a couple episodes ago when we were talking about me being short in the fireworks. Not allowed, officially. Now we know it's not allowed to bring a folding stool.
Dang it.
No folding stools, no matter how short you are or how much you think you need it. No folding stools, and for that matter, folding chairs. I know so many times we've joked about how, maybe only half joked, about when you're standing in line, how nice it would be if you had one of those folding chairs and you could just kind of open it up real quick to sit down while you're waiting for a few minutes before the line moved. None of those are available. None of those are allowed. So don't try.
Yeah.
Not going to work.
You can't bring horns or whistles.
Yeah, that's another thing I think we mentioned at one point, is a whistle to alert or get someone's attention. Yeah, those are not allowed.
Which makes sense. It disrupts.
Yeah. Could you imagine tons of whistles going off? Yeah. Yeah. So no, none of that. In addition, another no-go is the Heelys.
I think I've brought this up before.
Yeah, Aurora was like, oh, I want to use Heelys. You could probably get away with wearing them. You just can't use the wheels on them.
They would never know.
They would know. If they saw you using them, you'd probably have to go
very
out.
slowly. They wouldn't.
No. We are not encouraging people to break the rules.
Yeah, don't break the rules.
Yeah, so Heelys, well, it might sound appealing and sound like a good idea, are a no-go in the Disney parks.
I don't know, would they, like, just
confiscate? I don't know what they would do if they make you leave and change and come back with different shoes.
I feel like they probably would be like, you cannot.
I don't know if they'd give you a warning and just say, stop using the Heeley part of the shoe.
I feel like they'll just tell you, like, I guess they can't really. I feel like if they find out if you are wearing Heelys, they would probably, like, tell you to give up. Because, like,
I don't know.
I feel like, because they're kind of difficult. Like, it's kind of a hazard. Like, what happens if you, like, slipped?
Yeah, there's a number of reasons why they wouldn't really want.
They probably would, like, if they find out you're wearing Heelys, they probably would tell you to change anyways.
Probably.
Even what if someone, not really using
what if somebody only brought that pair of shoes?
Well, then they would have to leave and then come back.
Yeah. Okay. For the just for the record, we don't know what the official rule is. We're speculating.
Yes.
I don't know if they would ask. My personal belief, my guess is that they would give you a warning first. But if you kept doing it, then they'd have you leave and not come back until you had different shoes on. Is what I would guess they would do. But the truth is, I don't know. And also, just so you know, if you let your kid come and they only bring Heelys as an option for shoes, and for whatever reason you were told they could not wear them and they had to change, FYI, they do sell shoes at Disney.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
they're more expensive than you're probably going to want to pay, but they sell them.
Yeah.
And also at Disneyland, you have other shops that are close by if you had to go buy some shoes. But that's never ideal because you don't want to wear shoes that have not been broken in when you're at the parks either. So just don't bring your Heelys.
Yeah.
That's what it comes down to. Something else I forgot to put on the list that I hear sometimes, and it's kind of along the same lines, are those scooters. Like, now, if you have a medical reason, I think there are some scooters that, obviously, like the wheelchair. I'm not talking about the electric scooters.
Like, are you talking about like the ones for like broken legs?
Yeah. So, like, obviously, the just ride-on toy stuff you wouldn't. But I don't know. We'd have to look it up. Check if you have where you've broken you have a sprained ankle or something, and you have one of those scooters. Double check on the website whether you can take them or not. I've seen some in the parks, but I think that there are some kinds that are allowed and some that are not, and it probably is going to be dependent on the medical need, most likely. But anyway, so those are, like I said, kind of a quick rundown of the majority of the things that you're not going to be bringing into the parks that might have been considered by some people. Or, like I said, some of these used to be allowed, and now they've had changes recently, so... like I said, within the last 5 years, So you might just want to know about the update. Always go to the website, especially if you have something that you think might be questionable in any way. So don't just take our word for it. Update. Go and make sure you've got the latest and greatest off the Disney website, but the park website. Anything you have to add about what cannot be taken into the parks?
Typically, like, I mean, obviously it's not always, like, the correct thing. Like, if you are worried that it might get, like that you might not be able to bring it into parks, generally, it's probably a good idea not to bring it.
Yeah.
Like, obviously, like, sometimes it can be, like, something that's fine, but, like, it's also, like, would it be really an issue, like, to bring it anyways? I can't think of any...
where it might not even be, like, officially, officially... It's not officially banned, but it just is probably not a good idea to take it anyhow.
Yeah, or, like, it's not really you're not gonna use it, and so it's just an added weight.
That's true. So I think a lot of people... there's different types of people. There's the type of people that bring in too much stuff. They bring in more than they need... I mean, honestly, there are some things that I bring in that we very rarely use. I do less of that now than I used to, but like especially when I was a young mom or had younger kids, I brought more things just in case or whatever that we didn't really need. But some people bring a lot of things that you just don't need, and so yeah, just be aware, thinking about that. What's really necessary. The other end of people are the other side of the spectrum are the people that don't bring in anything, and so sometimes it's like, well, I don't know. I would have a hard time going in without anything, at least for a full day. But yeah, so
Yeah, so it's like if you're kind of just worried that they're not going to let you take that in, it's probably a good idea to just not bring it.
yeah, because otherwise things get confiscated at the security gates. I believe, I'm not sure if they hold on to that and you can pick it up after, or if they make you leave and take it back to your hotel and then come back. I want to say they make you leave and come back. Oh, one thing we didn't add on here, you cannot bring in already inflated balloons. Did you know that?
Oh, no, but it kind of makes sense because you don't know what's in the balloons.
That's true too, yeah. You can bring balloons that you inflate while you're in the parks. At least if you can't, then it's been done without us knowing, because I know your aunt does that sometimes, or she did when your cousins were a little bit younger. She would buy their little Mylar, those tiny little ones that you can get for just $1 at the end of grocery stands or whatever, that she would get and put a Mickey sticker on, and it was a cheap, easy, quick thing to give to pacify a young child. And it was a great idea. What she learned, I think, the first time she went through was that, again, you can't bring it in inflated. You have to bring them in and then inflate them while you're there. She never had a problem inflating them while she was in the parks, but didn't make it through security the first time when it was already filled. So things like that. But anyhow, like I said, look at the list and check before you go, just to be clear. And there you have it, a list of things that you should not take into the Disney parks. Next week, we will cover the things that you can bring in that might be you're not sure of, and some people might not be aware of, and they don't realize that, yeah, you can do this, and those can add to your convenience for the day, or sometimes helping you stay on budget and things like that. So we will cover that next week. But for now, thanks for listening this week, and we will talk to you next time.
See you.